Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching. You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy,
fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
Turns out I'm the perfect demographic for an Irish movie about a hair salon because there's nothing that says Irish hair salon other than a bald American. But I get to talk to the filmmaker herself. Rachel Carey, how are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you very much for that hilarious introduction. And, you know, it's for everyone. Baldness, you know, there are hair kind of, you know, there are treatments you can get in a hair salon.
You know, I'll stick with the razors. I think it's easier. I've seen plugs, and even the good ones are still pretty bad. So I'm good with that. But also, congratulations on the Discovery Award at the Dublin International Film Festival.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was an honor, and it was great to. The DIF is a super festival here, and because it's a Dublin movie, it was amazing to have its world premiere at that, and as the closing gala, and then having it recognized with the Discovery Award was just really cool. It was a film I made for my city, so it was good.
Well, that's fantastic. Congratulations in that. But I have to tell you, everything I tell all my Celtic friends, whether they're Scotch or Irish, you guys did not know when to stop walking. You guys should have stuck in the Eastern Mediterranean with us, with the Greeks, with the Lebanese, with the Egyptians, with the Israelis, with everybody else. Because all we do is what you guys do. We drink, we dance, we fight, we make fun of each other. We make up, we fight again, we drink, and we dance some more. So, like, how'd you guys just end up all the way on an island on the other side of England? Because, you know, they're the happiest, cheeriest, funniest people on the planet.
Yeah. I don't know. It's fascinating, actually, the history. I guess it's, you know, it's better to disperse our type across the globe. You don't want to concentrate us too much. Right. So it's better to have us peppered around so we balance everybody out. You know, I think is for the best.
I get it. You found the Germans were too droll, so you just kept going.
Yeah, probably something like that. Yeah. You know, we didn't like things like good weather or, you know, habitable climates. So we just thought, you know, let's go. Let's find something to complain about, because having things to complain about is a great source of humor. So if you've ever come to Ireland and experienced the weather, you will understand.
Well, I'm originally from San Francisco, so I'm pretty used to that foggy, damp.
Manageable.
Yes. You know, it's manageable. It'd be like going home, only with better accents.
Good, you should come.
One day. I have to say that Deadly Cuts is a lot like Pitch Perfect, only without all the annoying singing, thankfully. And I tease Pitch Perfect because they got 3 movies out of this. Hopefully you get 2 more sequels.
That would be great. And you know what? I have to admit, I love Pitch Perfect. 2 and 3 are probably less perfect, but you know, it is definitely a guilty pleasure. I watch it every time it's on. So thank you. Definitely no singing. Well, sort of. There is bits and pieces of music in mine, but definitely not in the same way. Whether we'll get a sequel, I'm not sure. We are developing a series, a comedy series, like a 30-minute series based on the world at the moment. So if that happens, that would be great. I'd love to write more of Piglinstown.
That just means we have to have another conversation. Are you going to keep the same cast, or are you going to recast it?
I like to hold it over their heads that I'd recast it, you know, and kind of use that as a threat. I'm only messing. No, I would definitely like to keep the same cast. Definitely. I think they're just perfect. And I was so lucky to get them. So, and I think across the whole cast, I think they really they made it. And so I'd be crazy to let them go, I think.
Well, I do have to admit, Chantal has been my favorite character in the film so far.
Really?
Or at least in the series, because, you know, there's just something about a flatulent, pretty girl that stammers through life that is quite entertaining.
Yeah, of course. We'd all like to know one of them. And it's funny, actually, she is coming back as really, really one of the more popular characters. And I think Shauna Higgins, who's the actor, it's funny, all of the girls are somewhat like their characters in real life. It's just purely coincidental. So Shauna is the perfect Chantal, and she wouldn't be a million miles away from her off screen, but a brilliant actor, a brilliant comic actor. So yeah, I love what she did with Chantal for sure.
Well, hopefully the flatulence was piped in and she wasn't a method actress on that.
Yes. We had a lot of fun. The only problem on that scene was containing the real laughter when she would have those moments, because sometimes we'd sort of play in a sound effect, especially when we wanted the girls to laugh, and then it would kind of all get a bit out of control, which happened a lot on set actually with that group of girls. But it was all part of the fun. It all translated onto camera, I think, so it was worth it.
Okay. Please forgive my ignorance, by the way. Is Piglintown a suburb of Ireland? Is it a real place, or is it just something you made up for the film?
It's fictitious, yeah. No, I made it up. So what you get in, actually, a lot of Dublin place names are made up of that structure. Like we've Loughlinstown was where we really shot it, and you get a lot of like Adamstown, Jobstown. So yeah, I just made it up. I didn't want to kind of make it about any specific area. So it's based on an amalgamation of some real working class areas here. It was very, very representative of what you get in real life.
And at some point, you're going to create your own village just for your own home studio and call it Piglintown, I assume.
That's a great idea. Possibly I will. Yes. Thank you for that. I'm just going to write that down here. Yes. Yeah.
Well, take me through the process of the film. How did you decide to come up with Deadly Cuts and be a part of this majority female cast, all protagonists? I feel awful in not being able to pronounce Victoria's last name because I really want to call her Smurfette.
It's Smurfit.
Smurfit. Okay.
Smurfit. Yeah. Sorry, okay. Smurfit. Yeah. So the idea sort of came back. I've been kicking around for a long time. I wanted to do a comedy with Dublin working class young women, because it just hadn't been done. And that was amazing to me, because it's just such a naturally hilarious subset of Dublin culture. So hairdressers, just felt like their natural habitat to a great extent. And the world of competitive hairdressing, I hadn't really seen brought to life on screen in all its insane glory. And I thought, so that kind of brought in the hairdressing element. And then I kind of, like probably many cities around the world, Dublin's got a gentrification problem, and a lot of unfair development and working class people being frozen out. So all that serious stuff sort of then came on board, and that's how the basic premise was formed. I didn't deliberately set out to write, a lot of female protagonists or a multi-headed protagonist or whatever. It kind of was just the way it evolved. There's probably too many characters really, but they just kept coming. And so the challenge was just to make them all interesting and different, and then just find the talent to bring them all to life. So yeah, I was really lucky. People like Angeline Ball, who's like a legend here. Victoria is also like super well known, a brilliant actor, and just the diversity of kind of female characters that got to appear on screen was just a joy for me, and male, and there's good male characters in there as well, I think.
Well, you don't have too many characters because everybody fits into their position in the story. It's not as if someone was a throwaway. So that's what actually makes it a well-consistent and flowing film. I do have to ask though, all the posterior references, whether fingers going somewhere or flatulence or anything of that sort, is that just South Dublin humor or blue collar Irish humor that comes out in every conversation, or a humorous conversation rather? Or is that just something you decided to toss into the film for your own sensibilities and make yourself laugh?
I would say probably a little from column A, a little from column B. None of it was that deliberate. Like definitely Dublin humor is a little bit crude, and there's a lot of cursing because that's naturally what you'll hear over here. We are more likely to pepper our sentences with the F-bomb. The posterior references, as you so delightfully put it, I wouldn't say were deliberate. They just sort of came about from those characters, and just, I do. It's probably a sign of my own immaturity that I think bums and farts are funny. So, it's undeniable. It's undeniable. So, yeah, not super deliberate. Probably a troubling insight into my sense of humor, I would say.
Well, it worked for the film. I found it to be hilarious. I was just surprised because so many people are, adverse to that part of the body and even making any references to it. And, if one fart joke is funny, then 7 will definitely be funnier.
Absolutely. You can never have enough.
Yeah. This is your full-length feature film, and you've already been recognized you know, as part of the Discovery Award for the Dublin Irish Film Festival, or International Film Festival, I'm sorry. What's that mean to you that your own home city and your own home country has recognized you as an up-and-coming filmmaker fresh out the gate? Because you've done 2 shorts before, at least according to IMDb.
Yeah, absolutely huge. It really is. And as I said, you know, for your first feature, and especially with a comedy of this nature, you know, you're never quite sure how it's going to be received. And there aren't a huge amount of Dublin comedies. And I really set that out with the intention of making it, you know, for a broad audience, but it really was Dublin at the heart of it. And I wanted people to see their city reflected in a way that was authentic, but also that they hadn't seen before. So it meant a lot to me what Dublin thought, you know, it did. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. So yeah, first of all, for it to be my first feature and to have it selected as closing gala was huge. That was amazing. And then yeah, to have Dublin react in the way they have was really, really special. I think there's nowhere else that I would want it to have had its world premiere. I think it was just a perfect place for it to launch into the world, you know.
Would it have been bittersweet if the rest of the United Kingdom enjoyed the film and Dublin looked at you and go, it's all right?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, probably. It probably would have. I think, you know, stuff is made like that kind of is made to pander more to an international audience. Like, you do get that. And Irish people will watch it and kind of go, it's not really what we're like, you know. So I think I would have let myself down maybe a little bit if Dublin hadn't got on board. But hopefully the rest of the world will be able to enjoy it as well.
Well, if there's ever an American remake, I can completely see it being done in New Jersey, because I texted a friend of mine in New York and I was like, this movie easily, if it's an American version, has to be Jersey.
Really?
Yeah. So,
wow.
You know, people will pick up, yeah, but we have a lot of Irish in America. I think we have more Irish in America than you do in Ireland at this point.
I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's statistically correct. Yeah. And everywhere you go. And I think, you know, universally as well, you kind of get like small communities and salons, and it tends to be the heart of the community. And everyone's got a problem with, you know, developers and gentrifiers. So yeah, hopefully everybody can relate to that and then understand the Dublin accents. I was a little bit concerned about that, but it seems to be manageable.
I won't lie, I am thrilled that you sent me a copy of the film with subtitles, because I had no idea what a kip was. I had no idea what some of these phrases were. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's a localized thing. And I'm glad I can pause it and go to Google and go, okay, what does this mean?
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. Kip. Wow. I never thought of that. Now translating. Okay. Yeah. It's a learning curve.
Yeah. Well, you know, there are phrases here that we use, you know. I have a friend whose wife is also an immigrant like the rest of my family, and she didn't understand the phrase "drive me up the wall," and she's trying to figure out how do you drive something up the wall. So we had to explain to her that it was just common vernacular, or, you know, part of our lexicon.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
So unfortunately, you mentioned gentrification really taking place in Dublin. Where are they forcing people out of? Are they forcing them to the countryside? Are they forcing them to Wales? Like, what's happening with all this over there?
No, not exactly. It's see, Dublin's small, you know, so when you get you know, in a place like maybe London or New York, it can kind of absorb a bit of gentrification, I think, but in Dublin we kind of can't really. So it's a lot of the inner city, which is where I live, is sort of getting all the really cool cultural areas, and more working class areas are getting, you know, international conglomerates are coming in and buying them up. So people are, being pushed further and further out into the suburbs and out of where they've historically lived for generations. And, you know, house prices are through the roof. We've got a homelessness problem. It all sort of interconnects. So I think people are just being pushed out of their areas, really, and having to relocate in different places. So it's it's really sad, because you can see some of the heart go out of the city. So, but people are pushing back and people are fighting back, and I hope maybe that this film will be a little bit of a rallying cry for people to, maybe not in the extremes that this film does, but in some way, you know, stay angry about that and keep the heart of Dublin alive. You know, I think it's so important.
So now we know why Stacey wants to go over to Spain besides her mom. And that's the only spoiler for everybody.
Yeah.
No major spoilers beyond that.
No, that's not a spoiler. I don't think. I think that's fine. Yeah.
You had a lot of fun with this film, but being the writer and the director, I always mention this to them and ask every writer director about this. How difficult is it, especially with a comedy in this regard, to stay married to the written word on the page when the joke just isn't hitting in the setting that you place the film in?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what it was more a case of was, they wouldn't hit the way I thought they would in my head, and when you've written them to, and with comedy and with jokes, it's all about delivery and the way it kind of hits the line. So that was difficult. Sometimes I did have to force myself to go, you need to let this go, it's not funny. And it would take me a while to accept that it wasn't funny, because I'd have written that joke a year and a half ago and been reading it since, and still thought it was funny. So definitely you have to create that bit of distance. And I think when you have good actors as well, and you develop a sort of trusting and a close relationship with the cast, they'll tell you, and the people around you will tell you. Like, sometimes I would have to just say, this isn't landing, is it? And people will go, no. But the cast themselves who are all really funny people, would all kind of go, I don't know, and we all knew. So I think you just had to be, that's the thing with comedy, like, people aren't laughing at you. You feel it in the room straight away, if something isn't landing. So yeah, it's tough sometimes to accept that that's not funny, but I think that's what you have to do. So yeah, tricky, but important.
Was your spouse supportive in all of this and saying that, what, even the joke didn't work, but I liked it when you first wrote it and just saw the development of it? Because sometimes people bounce ideas off their spouses. I had mentioned that to somebody, like, my spouse has nothing to do with this. I was like, yeah, but he was there when you wrote the whole thing, so that's why I'm bringing that up.
Yeah. He definitely has always been my sort of first reader. He is not involved in the film world himself, but he'll laugh. I know exactly how much he's into something, or how much, and he's a good litmus test for laughs. So he's always been a kind of, I know if he's laughing, it's working. And sometimes he'll kind of go, and this is the infuriating bit, where he goes, yeah, keep at that, keep going at that. It's that kind of, it's like, I'd rather you just say it's terrible,
That hurt me. That just hurt me hearing that.
It's worse, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
It's worse than just saying it's terrible. So yeah, definitely he would be you need someone like that who you can listen to, and then obviously, like, you curse at them and run out of the room, but you need that sort of honest input, I think. So that was good to have. Sometimes I didn't listen. You have to stick to your guns sometimes.
All right, I have to ask you, since Easter recently passed, and there's some praying going on in this movie for forgiveness and shallow aspects, what would Stacy's confession of what happened with Dino look like?
Yeah, I think it would probably be aggressive. I think she would start off with the good intention of being contrite, and then I think she wouldn't take well to being chastised or in any way. And I think that priest on the other side of the confessional would be glad of the divide between them, and that that grid that they have up. I think that would become a sort of protective barrier, because I think Stacy's and you can see it, after what happens to Dino happens, she's not really sorry at all. I think she's feels perfectly validated in what they did and justified in what they did. So I couldn't see that going well for the person on the other side of the confessional, to be honest.
So you Catholics have a little bit easier than us. Over on the Eastern side with the Orthodox Church, the Catholics get a divider wall and some anonymity. No, we have to kneel in front of an icon of God, of Christ, with an open Bible on our head and the priest's vestment holding it in place while we confess. So
what? I didn't know that.
So good luck in hiding anything when you're Eastern Orthodox, with the Greeks, the Russians, the Antiochians, all of us. Yeah.
Oh my God! And you confess out loud, like,
oh
it's
yeah.
Not just in
well, not to the congregation, but yeah, to the priest. Yeah. But yeah. So you guys get a dividing wall. We get an open Bible on our head.
Oh my God, wow, that is different. I thought ours was bad. We could at least kind of slink in and out in disguise, you know? Just they'll never know it was
No,
me.
full exposure on our end.
Wow. Well, that's humbling, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point of it. But
It is, yes.
we've touched upon that, because in Ireland it seems that being Catholic is part of your identity if you are Catholic, or we know about the sectarian war before with the Protestant and the Catholic, but it's embedded in part of the identity as well, and that plays a role in the film. That's why I brought up the whole confession thing. The sensibility of the audience in Dublin when they saw the film, and you said not only because it was the closing night feature, but it was such a great response back home. What is it like when people that are of Irish ancestry, say from the United States or Canada, or even in Australia, have seen the film and said, wow, it's like going back, or it's just like the stories mom and dad told me before they immigrated?
Well, it's because it hasn't been broadly released yet. I haven't really had the chance to get that level of feedback, really. I mean, the thing is, from the state, definitely the more people I talk to in the States, and it's still only a handful of people, they do definitely, I think a lot of people in America just kind of connect with Irishness, and are really familiar with it. So I think they just like it in general, in that whether it's familiar, I'm not 100% sure. I would like that it is, because I think certainly if they're, first generation, or they've close family, they should recognize from the stories and even just the type of wit and stuff that you hear there. So yeah, I don't know. I can't say I've had enough feedback internationally to judge yet, but that would be great. I would like that for sure.
Well, it's a very international story. It's not, I mean, it's Irish, it's Dublin Foundation, but I got the jokes. I understand the whole seeking redemption for sins wronged against you, and for people being, screwing you over at times and trying to take away your identity because of either jealousy or fear that you are going to succeed and go further than them, or whatever else that plays into it, which is a part of the story. And so that's very international in itself. To an audience that isn't primarily English speaking, that's either going to hear a dubbed version of it or have a subtitle version of it, has there been a reaction to that, whether it's gone other parts of Europe, or has it just still been mostly localized? Because I enjoyed it quite a bit when it was sent to me.
Yeah, thank you. No, at the moment it's just played Dublin, and now it's in Seattle, so hence America is seeing it. But that's it so far. It really is very early days for the film, so it kind of remains to be seen. But yeah, as you say, I do think the themes are absolutely international, and all of those things that you mentioned, it's not just about class, it's about people and the relationship with power, and what people will do to make themselves feel important and stay feeling important. I think all of those human traits, anybody can feel and connect with, and know the people who it turns bad, and and the people who exploit others with it, and all of those things. I would hope that will connect across the board, even if some of the humor is maybe lost in non-English speaking. I don't know yet, so we'll have to wait and see.
Right. You filmed so much for the movie to have to whittle it down to 90 minutes roughly. There has to have been a scene that you just really loved but didn't fit the narrative that had to end up on the cutting room floor. Will that be a DVD bonus feature? And if so, what was that scene?
Great question. Yes, there are things I was heartbroken to cut out. Am I allowed to say? Yeah, probably. If I am allowed to include a bonus scene on the DVD, there was a scene with the De Logan character, who is like the hairdressing, the Vidal Sassoon sort of king of hairdressing over there, who they meet at the hair show. And there was a scene backstage between him and the girls that I personally loved, and it was just kind of bonkers and just full of one-liners. For the sake of story and the speed of storytelling around there, it was the right thing to take it out, because it just slowed everything down. But I think especially the reaction to that character has been huge. Like, people just tend to really, he stands out and people find him funny. So I think that would probably be the treat I would give the viewers, you know, if they wanted a bit more. I think everyone would love a bit more to Logan and see what he's about.
All right, I dig it. Let's say 5 years from now, the movie hit internationally, where we can finally get together again, whether we've achieved herd immunity or through vaccinations and approved vaccinations instead of just emergency ones. And all of a sudden, there becomes this desire to tour the inspirations for Piglinson. Would you be willing to give a guided tour throughout the Dublin area?
100%. And I think I'd probably get some of the local people involved, because when I was writing it, I actually was out in those areas a lot and in the little salons and spending time chatting to local people and in those salons. And I mean, you will never laugh more in your life than you will with some of the people who I met on that journey. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think I'm going to make a fortune off that. Thank you very much for feeding me that one. So yeah, I'd probably get a lot of local people involved and make that the big tourist to do thing of 2024, we'll say, maybe. We might be back.
10% finder's fee, by the way.
Well, I don't remember agreeing that. We'll talk.
All right, we'll talk. Yeah, that's it. We'll go for St. Patrick's Day. We'll visit St. Patrick's, mausoleum, and then we'll go on the tour to the hair salons throughout all of Dublin.
Yeah, and every tour ends with a haircut. This business plan is writing itself at this stage, I think.
See, again, I feel neglected, you know, and shunned from all of this, but it's okay. Maybe I'll just get a shave.
Yes, perfect. That's a good solution. Yeah.
Rachel, for people that are finally being able to discover the film internationally, outside of Ireland and outside of Dublin specifically, if they've just heard of the notion and me basically saying that it's kind of like a hair salon version of Pitch Perfect without the singing, but want to investigate more, why should they sit there and watch Deadly Cuts?
Because I think this is a wild ride in the crazy world of competitive hairdressing, which is something you've never seen and need to see. And it's not a huge graduation from the reality of it on screen, but also because I think it's a chance to experience what Dublin humor is all about. And I think everybody in the world deserves a glimpse of that, and it deserves its stage. And as well, it's an important story for now and what's happening across the world right now, and how sometimes it's the younger generation coming up who's going to solve all the problems. And I think if they do it in a kick-ass kind of way, it makes for a great entertaining watch.
I love it. Where can we find you on social media if we want to connect with you in the film?
I am on Twitter at Racheology, and the film is just a hashtag at the moment. It's just hashtag Deadly Cuts. There's no specific home for that right now, but all the information is if you follow the hashtag, all the information from our distributors and things are up there. You can still watch it at SIF, at sif.net. You can find it across the States. Everybody can watch it. And we are just about to close up the deal on US distribution. So hopefully we'll have more news on that soon, and it will be coming to America towards the end of the summer, I hope.
Fantastic. You'll have to keep me posted on that. Also, Rachel Carey proving my point that the Irish don't know when to stop walking. They could have ended up in the Mediterranean with the rest of us. No, they go all the way past England. And the first place that they send her film to in the United States is not New York or Boston or anything that was initially a heavily populated Irish area. Went all the way across the continental United States to Seattle, no less.
Yeah, you know, we want to discover new ground. That's always our way. We're a nation of roamers, so I think it's only appropriate. And Seattle's rainy as well, so it's a home from home, correct?
Absolutely. You see, you just kept it in the family. You're like, all right, where can we go find rainy, drab weather, you know, that's going to continuously remind us of the greenery of Ireland? So, you know, you went home basically.
We did. Our home from home.
Rachel Carey, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. Deadly Cuts is a fantastic comedy that you have to check out.
Thank you so much. It's been great to chat.
Take care. Thank you.